In this world there are evil spirits which haunts people. When a people come face to face with them, they are helplessly thrown into the dark depths of fear. But there are those who fights evil spirits every day and known as psychics. We meet Reigen Arataka, who's taking a job to exorcise a spirit who is haunting. Reigen's client, for past few days after making a deal with his client, he went with her to exorcise the spirit. They reached the building where Reigens saw the spirit. Reigen went inside where he encountered the spirit. Reigen threw table salt on the spirit, but it didn't work. The spirit told Reigen that he needs purified salt to exorcise a spirit. Reigen was not a psychic, so don't have any other attack that work on spirit. So he called his ultimate weapon, Mob. Mob's actual name was Kageyama Shigeo. He is a middle schooler and an actual psychic. Mob exorcised the spirit in a second. After defeating the spirit, Reigen gives Mob some money, and also Reigen said that Mob have to use his powers carefully and don't use his powers on any human. Mob heads to his home. As Mob was eating his food, he bends the spoon and his brother fixed the spoon. Mob's mother was mad on Mob because Mob daily bends a spoon, but Mob's father supports Mob and says it happens when they go through puberty. Next day, Mob went to his school, Salt Middle School. Mob was not good in academics and also not good in sports. After school, when Mob was heading for his way home, he gets a call from Reigen. Reigen asks the Mob to come to the station. Reigen explains to Mob about the mission he took from the neighborhood council. The location is Honedo Tunnel along the old highway. Mob and Reigen went inside the tunnel, and Mob starts to exorcise the spirits, and Reigen encounters the boss of the spirits. Reigen attacks the boss with his first covered with purified salt. But it didn't work on the spirit's boss. As the boss was about to attack Reigen, Mob uses his power and makes the boss spirit small and powerless. Reigen asks Mob why didn't Mob melted the spirit. Mob says that he wants to hear spirit's story. The spirit said, there is an evil spirit deep inside tunnel who is using them, and that's why they are scaring people that come through. And also told Mob about his past life where he was a head of a bike gang named Death Specters, and how they died because of banana peel, and asked Mob to defeat the spirit and free him. Mob went deep inside the tunnel and encountered the evil spirits and melted the spirit. Reigen was giving a massage to his customer saying that he has been cursed, and after massage, Reigen says that the curse has been lifted. And after that, Mob asks Reigen that he wants to experience a lot more other things. Rather than wasting his youth working part-time after school, Reigen suggests Mob to try band dance or hitchhiking, but Mob says he don't have anything particular in his mind. In Mob's school, there was a club named Telepathy Club. The club president Kurata Tome was in a hurry to get a new member because they got a warning from student council. President that if they don't bring a new member by the end of the school day on Friday. The club president Kurata Tome and her members were desperately asking everyone at school to join their club, but no one is interested in their club and refused to join. And at last, one of the club member brings Mob to president and says Mob doesn't join any clubs or committees. The club president introduces Kijibayashi, Saruta, and also told her name Kurata Tome. Mob says he can't join their club today because he have to go to his exorcisms job. One of the club members tells to president that Mob was famous in grade school because Mob can bend spoons and move a razor, and says Mob is an esper. Club's president insists Mob to join her club. Mob calls Reigen and asks Reigen if it's all right to be little late today. Reigen says to Mob to come immediately, and Mob says to the club president that he have to go immediately. But the president says Mob to let her talk to Reigen, and after talking for a while on phone, President started crying. Seeing President cry, Mob decides to join their club, but Reigen says, don't join the club, it's just a waste of time. And as Mob was about to leave, the club members tries to convince Mob and says, to take a night to think about it. Mob went on a mission with Reigen wearing a disguise. They reached their destination, High-So Private Girls Academy, as they were about to enter in the school. The guard stopped them and stopped Reigen from entering the school. but they let Mob to go inside the school. Mob went inside the school and met their clients Chihiro and Mari. Chihiro and Mari told Mob that students' belongings have been vanishing under mysterious circumstances, and they have been hearing weird noises, and they've also heard that things have been spotted floating through the air, and they're sure that it has to be something supernatural. So they called cheapest exorcist in the area. Mob, Chihiro, and Mari started to search the spirit. Mob sensed the spirit and started following the spirit, and the sense led him to the sports room. Mob trapped the spirit inside the sports room and went inside the room. The spirit was angry, getting trapped inside the room, so the spirit attacked Mob, but Mob destroyed Spirit's hand. So the spirit decided to take someone as hostage. Spirit chose a girl and tried to capture her, but Mob came in front of girl and destroyed the spirit. All the girls thanked Mob for destroying the spirit. The next day, Mob joined Body Improvement Club instead of Telepathy Club. In order to change himself, Mob joined the Body Improvement Club. During the training, Mob passed out, so the president of Body Improvement Club took Mob to the club room where Telepathy Club are discussing about Mob. As soon the Body Improvement president arrived, Kurata Tome and her club members thanked the president to let them use the room. Body Improvement Club's president said, "There's no need to thank him because they were only using the room to store their equipments." After that, Body Improvement Club president leave the room, and Kurata asked Mob to show her his psychic powers. Mob moved dumbbell with his powers. Kurata was amazed and asked Mob to help her to make her dream come true. She always wanted to contact and interact with extraterrestrial life forms, but Mob says he have to build muscle and become popular. Kurata says if Mob wants to be popular, he can just use his telepathy powers to read girls' mind. As Mob was heading to his home, he met a strange woman who was saying she can solve Mob's problem and asked him to come with her. Mob agreed to go with her. They went to a building and went inside an elevator. She told about herself to Mob that she belongs to a brand new religious that came into existence last month, and it's called LOL, found by their leader Dimple, Sama and Dimple. Sama has mysterious power to make anyone laugh immediately. Mob went to stage where he met one of his classmates, Misato, and there also a man along with Mob and his classmates Dimple. Sama arrives and introduced them to the group. The group covered Mob's face and the man's face with smiling mask. As the group was about to cover the face of Misato, Dimple asked Misato if she wants to ask something. She said that LOL was started a month ago and Dimple managed to gather this many followers. She was working for Salt Middle School's newspaper. She was here to investigate bad rumors about Dimple. Sama, that he was using group hypnosis to brainwash and force people into joining. Dimple. Sama showed Misato the man who was sad a few moments, and as soon they removed his mask. He was laughing with joy. Misato was surprised to see this. Misato felt something strange in the air. Misato apologized for doubting them and asked to let her go, but Dimple, Sama refused to let her go, and one of the group member put a mask on Misato's face. Misato removed her mask and started laughing. But she doesn't want to laugh. As soon as Mob gets to know that their theme was smiling and laughing and nothing to do with becoming popular, Mob removes his mask and said he is leaving. Dimple. Sama was surprised to see that the smiling mask didn't work on him as Mob was about to leave Dimple. Sama stopped Mob and asked Mob to play a game, staring contest. Mob will have a staring contest with 3 of Dimple's smile leader. They all drink milk and the first to laugh loses. Mob agreed and the game started. Mob win the all rounds easily, and he was just about to leave Dimple. Sama asked Mob to go against him, and they started the round as Mob drinked the milk. He spitted it, and Dimple said that Mob smiled, but Mob said he doesn't smile. So Dimple used his powers to make Mob smile, but it didn't work. Dimple tried so many times, but it still doesn't work. Meanwhile, Mob got to know that Dimple have psychic powers. Mob said that Dimple powers doesn't work on him. Dimple got angry and showed his true form. He was an evil spirit. He ordered his followers to kill Mob. They all attacked Mob, and we see the glimpse of Mob past, and we also got to know that why Mob don't display his feelings. And finally, Mob's emotions exploded, and the spirit was surprised by Mob's power. The spirit attacked Mob but didn't affect Mob, so the spirit used his full power, but Mob defeated the spirit with just one punch. After defeating the spirit, Mob went to meet Reigen and told him all that happened. As soon as Mob wakes up, he sees a spirit say good morning to him. Mob grabs the head of the spirit and slams the spirit to the floor, because Mob thought it was a dream. Spirit says he is Dimple that Mob fought last night. Mob remembers and going to destroy him completely. But Spirit stops Mob and says he doesn't plan to live his whole life as Spirit, and he have an ambition to stand at the top of all creation. And that's why he created that religious group and asks Mob to join him. But Mob was not interested in his ambitions and going to destroy him. But Dimple says don't destroy him. He won't do anything bad anymore, and Mob agrees to not to destroy him and says he have to discuss it with his master. Dimple just want to possess him. Mob went to his school where Dimple observes Mob's behavior and how Mob interacts with others, and Dimple wants Mob to rely on Dimple for everything. After school, Mob goes to Regan and says he had a spirit stuck to him since the morning and asks what to do. Regan says it's too weak for him to see and says to Mob to do whatever he wants. Mob decides to not erase Dimple until he doesn't cause any harm. The next day, when Mob was about to leave for his school, his brother Ritsu wants to walk to the school with Mob. Mob was little surprised because Ritsu always goes alone to school. Ritsu said he wants to talk about something to him. On their way to school, Ritsu asked Mob why Mob doesn't use his powers more oftenly. Mob replies he doesn't get an opportunity to use it. Ritsu says, "Are there things that you can't have, even if you use your powers?" Mob replies muscles, or the ability to understand girls, or read his surroundings. Mob says he envies Ritsu. Meanwhile, few more students joined the Body Improvement Club to improve their body and take revenge from other schoolboys. Meanwhile, Mob get a love letter and went to Ankle Park to confirm it, where some other schoolboys appear and kidnaps Mob and sends a letter to Body Improvement Club members. Body Improvement Club members coming to save Mob. Mob, who is held as a hostage. Dimple gives Mob an idea to use his psychic powers and defeat all of the students. But Mob refuses to use his powers against other people. Body Improvement Club members arrives to save Mob and started defeating other school students. Mob comes to them, and they head back to train themselves. The other school students started attacking Mob and Body Improvement Club members, but they all get defeated, and one of the students called a student named Teru. Teru was a psychic power user. He uses his psychic powers to defeat the Body Improvement Club members. Mob says to Teru to not use his psychic powers against other people. And Mob unites himself from rope using his psychic powers. Teru attacks Mob, but it didn't affect Mob, and Mob tries to talk to Teru, but Teru doesn't want to talk and started attacking. Dimple asks Mob to attack Teru with his powers, but Mob refuses. Teru throws rocks to Mob. Mob uses a shield. Teru attacks Mob with his psychic powers and gets Mob down to ground. Dimple interferes and was going to attack Teru, but Teru erases Dimple with his psycho wave. After that, Teru started attacking Mob again and again and asks Mob to use his psychic powers, but Mob refuses to use his powers. Teru attacks Mob with knives. Mob defends himself with his powers and reflected the knives. One of the knives passes by Teru's head and cut at his hair, making him half bald. Teru gets mad at Mob and makes a sword with his tie and using his powers attacks Mob. Mob still defends himself with a barrier. Mob asks Teru why is he trying so hard to make Mob use his powers. Mob realizes why Teru have such animosity towards Mob. It's because Teru and Mob are same, and Teru don't like to be same as Mob. Mob says Teru is same as Mob, which makes Teru angry. Teru runs towards Mob and grabs Mob's neck and asks Mob to use his powers to free himself. Mob refuses and tries to throw a punch on Teru's face. Mob was about to use his powers, but he became unconscious and falls down to ground. And thus the battle between Mob and Teru never reached its conclusion. Teru was about to leave Mob stand up with enormous power and attacked. Teru was shocked with Mob power. Mob was unconscious. Teru's powers was sucked by Mob. Mob threw Teru up in the skies and Teru realized that he is not so special as he thinks. Mob also realized that he caused another incident with his powers, and he was very sad about it. Few minutes later, all students gained their consciousness and saw that Teru was naked and he was half bald and ran away. Meanwhile, Body Improvement Club members was happy to see that Mob was fine and went back to train. Mob searched for Dimple for 3 hours, but couldn't find Dimple and headed back to his home. Reigen was performing a ritual for his client. The client wanted to talk to his late father. Reigen started to talk like clients. Father and asked client what he wants. Client asks password of hidden safe. Client pointed the knife on Reigen's neck and asked for password. Reigen punched the client and knocked him and says, "It was for self-defense," Mob tells Reigen. In self-defense, can he shave off someone's hair, rip off their clothes, destroy their pride, make them lose their friends, and destroy the school they go to? Reigen says, how can he do such things as self-defense? Mob says, there are times when his psychic powers gets out of control and it happens and he was unconscious. And now he don't want his powers. Reigen says, Mob's powers have positive sides too, and Mob helped a lot of people with his powers. Reigen says that Mob has to focus on positive side, not negative side of his powers. When Mob went to school, Mezuto said to Mob that she knows that Mob is the one who caused the supernatural incident at Black Vinegar Middle School. And there was also another kid in Black Vinegar Middle School who easily throws people around too, and says that she thinks that that is also a Esper like Mob. And she thinks that the incident happened because Mob met the kid at Black Vinegar and they both fought. But Mob didn't said a word about incident and Misato left. Kura listened all of this and asked Mob to go on a date with her where they find other telepathic people. Tenga asks Body Improvement Club's president to tell him who defeated the Black Vinegar students, but president refuses to tell him, and he leaves. Meanwhile, Ritsu, who was heading back to his home, meets a person who's saying that he can amplify his telepathic power and gives him a card and come to the place on the card. Mob and Kurata went on a date to find telepathic people, but they didn't find anyone. Ritsu went to the Awakening Lab, where he met other Esper. First is Hoshino Takeshi. He has psychokinetic powers. Next is Kurosaki Rei. She power was clairvoyance, which allows her to pick the one correct card out of 10. Next is Asahi Go, who can use pyrokinesis. Next is Shiratori brothers Daiichi and Kaito. They're telepaths who can communicate with each other, even when they're apart. The man who brought all of them along with Ritsu introduces himself as Mitsura, and said he is a son of a very wealthy family, and he just want to become an Esper. The next day, student council president asked Ritsu to help him to get rid of Onigawara, and put the girl's recorder in Onigawara's desk, and they make Onigawara pervert in all the students' view. Ritsu was regretting his decision. He was holding a spoon in his hand, trying to bending it, but didn't work. He threw the spoon and left the Awakening Lab. One of the Esper was making fun of Ritsu and said that Ritsu don't have psychic powers, but when Mitsura saw the spoon that Ritsu throwed was bended, he was sure that Ritsu have psychic powers. Ritsu reached his home and found a creepy-looking balloon. The creepy-looking balloon was Dimple, who managed to make it back from the particle level. But Dimple's spiritual energy was way less than what it used to be. Hence, low-level spirits was unable to enter the mob's home. But with help of Ritsu, Dimple entered the house. Seeing Dimple can talk. Ritsu was confused. Ritsu grabs Dimple's head and started smack knees on his face. Dimple said he is Mob's friend. Dimple asks Ritsu to pair up with Dimple. Ritsu refuses, but Dimple says don't be so hasty, and tells Ritsu that Ritsu just awakened psychic powers. And the fact that Ritsu can see Dimple is proof of that, but Ritsu haven't realized what his powers are and how to use it. Dimple helps Ritsu to use his powers. Dimple gives Ritsu some spoon and asks Ritsu to bend them. Ritsu takes one of the spoon and tries so hard to bend but couldn't bend it and shouts at Dimple. Dimple says calm down and point at the desk. Ritsu sees that all the other spoon get bended. Now Dimple asks Ritsu to join. Dimple, if Ritsu wants to surpass Mob. Ritsu, sitting on a chair, asks Dimple how he can use his powers more freely. Dimple says, "Close your eyes and relax your body." When Ritsu did that, Dimple tried to take the possession of Ritsu's body. Dimple entered Ritsu's body but was unable to take control of Ritsu's body. But because of Dimple, Ritsu was able to use his powers. In school, Ritsu and student council, president kicked of some students who were violating school rules. Ritsu and student council, president plants fake evidence about the students, and then they kick out the students. Ritsu was doing this because corruption and guilt became the fuel of Ritsu's powers. Ritsu went to Awakening Lab and showed his powers. Mitsura was amazed, and Ritsu asks Mitsura that he can fold Mitsura's car. On Ritsu's way, he met few students that have been kicked out because of Ritsu, and they attacked Ritsu. Ritsu, using his powers, defeated all of them. After defeating all the students, Tharu arrives and asks Ritsu to not rely on his psychic powers, but Ritsu was thinking to fight Tharu and see the difference between their power as Ritsu was about to attack. Tharu grabbed Ritsu's hand and showed his powers, which make Ritsu's leg shaken. Ritsu's managed to escape from Teru. Ritsu asks Dimple to help him get even stronger and not to lose to anyone. Meanwhile, a woman tricked Mob, and her boss comes and says it will cost Mob 1 million zen for breaking the vase. Mob calls Reigen for help, and Reigen saves Mob and said to the lady and her boss that one of his client is been haunted by a ghost, which is no transferred to Reigen, and now it's transferred to them, so to be careful. Ritsu and the Students' Council president went to Body Improvement Club and asked Onigawara to leave the school, but Musha took Onigawara's side and said, Onigawara didn't do such things. As they were talking, a student came and said some weird guy came to school. Gate. The guy was a gang leader of other school and wanted to fight T-Poison, the one who defeated Teru. Ritsu fights the guy and defeats him. President was surprised by Ritsu's power, and when he was head back to his home, some students of other school beated President. Next day, President Ritsu to stop what they were doing, but Ritsu doesn't want to stop, and the president got beaten every day, and then one day all the other school gangs found Ritsu and started attacking him, but Ritsu defeated all of them easily. When Ritsu was staring at all the students he defeated, Mob came and asked Ritsu what he was doing. Mob asks Ritsu if he beated the students lying on the ground. Ritsu replies, "Yes, I beated them." Mob was shocked and couldn't believe it. Ritsu says he did it with psychic powers he obtained and shows Mob his powers as Ritsu was charging up his powers to attack Mob. Dimple leaves Ritsu's body, but still Ritsu attacks Mob. Mob finally believed that Ritsu have psychic powers and congratulates Ritsu. After that, Ritsu tells Mob that he never admired Mob. He was just scared of Mob's power and thought that if he behaved like a good little brother and doesn't make Mob angry, Ritsu knew that once Mob became mad, there no who can save Ritsu, and that why he was acting nicely. Mob says that Ritsu was lying and walks past Ritsu to say sorry to the students that were lying on the ground. The students asks Mob that saying, "Sorry is nothing." Mob have to grovel and ask for forgiveness. When Mob was groveling, a man comes from roof of a building and strike Ritsu down to ground. Seeing some beating Ritsu, Komob rushed towards the man to save Ritsu, but the man was an adult Esper, and he strikes Mob. Mob uses his powers to fight back, but the man uses telekinetic helix, which breaks Mob's barrier. And the man started continuously striking Mob and beats Mob so badly. Seeing Mob getting beaten, Ritsu rushed towards the man and grabs him and asks man to take him and leave Mob. But the man was so angry with Mob that he wanted to kill Mob. The man strikes Ritsu. As he strikes, Mob got mad and used his full powers, and then started attacking the man. He beated the so badly and then takes him in the skies and then strikes him to the ground. Mob thought he defeated the man, but the man still not defeated. He rushed towards the Mob and used a spray which make Mob unconscious, and the man thought he won. But Mob stands up, and seeing Mob standing, the man knows that he couldn't win against Mob, so he took Ritsu and ran away. Dimple bring Teru to scene, and Teru took Mob to his house. Mob wakes up and asks Dimple what's happening and why Dimple is with Ritsu. and why Ritsu got kidnapped. Teru tells Mob about the organization called Claw, formed by dangerous espers. They want revolution and aim to turn the world on its head. They have over 100 espers. They take child esper and brainwash them and raise them as soldiers. Teru warned Mob to bat to go behind the organization, but Mob was worried about his little brother and he was going to save him. Teru stopped Mob and asked Mob why they are after Ritsu. Then Dimple told Mob and Teru that Ritsu was going to a research facility where people like Mob are gathering. Then Teru said Mob to go to the research facility. They went to the facility where all the staff was unconscious. Then Teru found the head of the facility and tied him with rope. Teru throwed water on the head of facility which made him conscious and asked him what happened. He told them that a man with sword came to the facility and kidnapped all the kids. Teru tells Mob that the organization is very big and powerful that Mob alone cannot handle, so he will need someone strong by his side and said he will join Mob. When they were talking, someone from Claw came into the house searching for Mob. Terada, one of the Claw upper-class member in Teru and Mob, captured Terada easily and asked him all about Claw and his members and their powers. Terada told them all he knew, but Teru couldn't believe him. Meanwhile, in the Claw's headquarter Claws, member taking the kids one by one to brainwash them. They took Kaito and murdered him because he refused to show them his powers. After murdering Kaito, they asked all other kids to take a night to reconsider their attitude and if they don't want to die. Terada took Terry and Mob to Claw headquarter. After reaching the headquarter, Terada ran away and Mob and Teru ignored Terada and went on to save Ritsu, but Terada came back and attacked Mob and Teru. Using his telekinetic whip, Teru rushed towards Terada to attack, but Terada captured Teru with his whips and attacked Teru. When Terada was attacking Teru, Mob used his powers and defeated Terada. Inside the headquarter, Ritsu was planning to escape and asked help from Shiratori. Shiratori also told them that his brother is safe and he knows it because they're telepaths and they can communicate even if the other is far away. They planned to escape from the organization on that night. Meanwhile, Mob and Teru defeated some guards and Dimple possessed one of the guard, and then 3 of them went inside the organization. They kept moving forward, destroying cameras and guards. Koyama, who Mob fought last, team appeared in front of them challenging Mob to fight. Mob defeated the Koyama so easily. Ritsu and the other was able to escape from the prison, and they also rescued Kaito. But when they were rescuing Kaito, they got caught. But the guards let them go. Mob, Teru, and Dimple splitted to find Ritsu. Dimple found a unique door. Some children came out of and started attacking Dimple. Dimple take down them easily. Dimple went inside the room. There was a awakening chamber which Claw uses to awaken the power of the child's. As Dimple was looking the room, Dimple encountered Matsuo, one of the Claw members. Meanwhile, Teru got to know that Ritsu and other children escaped from the prison, and when he was walking, he was attacked by pyrokinesis, and Teru encounters Miyagawa. Miyagawa attacked Teru with powerful flames, but somehow Teru throwed back the flames to Miyagawa and defeated Miyagawa. But as was defeated, a man with sword came to fight, but as Teru was focused at the man, someone came through the wall and attacked Teru, making him unconscious. Mob was surrounded by dolls, asking them where he can find his little brother, Mukai, the one who was controlling the dolls. When she found Mob, she was so happy because she thought Mob as one of her toy. Meanwhile, Ritsu encountered a kid who was powerful. So Ritsu asked others' childs to go without Ritsu, and he will handle the kid. Mukai, who went to play with Mob, came back, Tsuchi crying, and told her that Mob destroyed all the Mukai's dolls. After listening to Mukai, Tsuchi went to Mob, started attacking Mob. When Tsuchi was attacking Mob, Mob started crying. Tsuchi stopped and asked Mob why he is crying. Mob replied because now he have to beat a lady, and Mob's master told him that who beat lady is the biggest loser. Tsuchi asked Mob to fight her with his full powers. Meanwhile, Dimple was escaping from Matsuo because he was too weak to fight. Matsuo, but it was a trick. Dimple returned and attacked Matsuo. And then we see Mob defeated Tsuchi and the leader of Claw sent Takeuchi to fight Mob. Mob found Ritsu who was lying on the ground. Mob holded Ritsu in his hand, and then Muto came and started showing illusions to Mob. Mob became mad and defeated Muto by amplifying the illusions that Muto showed Mob, and Mob also went unconscious. Mob wakes, and Teru asked him if he know how he was defeated. Mob replies no, he doesn't know. Then Mob sees Ritsu and hugs Ritsu. Mob says, "Let's hurry and go home." Teru replies, "They can't, because the room they are in is blocking their powers." Mob says, "We don't have to worry because we have Ritsu, and Ritsu is very smart. Unlike Mob, who won't do anything without psychic powers, Ritsu can figure anything out and solve any problem, even without relying on powers." Mob says he admires Ritsu. Meanwhile, Reigen reaches Claw's headquarters. He met few soldiers outside the headquarters and asked them what's happening inside. But they refuse to answer Reigen and asks him who is he. Reigen says he is here to talk about work with his subordinates. They all mistaken him as the leader of Claw. They all takes Reigen inside and tells the 7th Division leader Ishiguro that the leader arrived on their way. Reigen found the kids that escaped from prison. The child tells Reigen how they got kidnapped and held captive here and asks for help. Reigen got angry on the soldiers for doing this to childs. Meanwhile, Mob, Teru, and Ritsu was talking about how they can escape the room. Reigen reaches them and asks Mob, "What is he doing here with his brother?" Mob asks Reigen, "Master, what are you doing here?" All the soldiers and Teru was shocked to know that Reigen was Mob's master and boss of the Claw. Teru tells Reigen that they were held as captive and asks Reigen to help them. Reigen takes them and was about to leave the headquarters. They encountered Ishiguro, who asked, "Who is he and what's he doing here?" Reigen told them that he is the greatest psychic in modern history, Reigen Arataka. Ishiguro attacked Reigen, but Mob and Teru saves Reigen using a barrier. Reigen told everyone to go to a safe place. As soldiers leaves Ishiguro block the way to escape by destroying the ceiling, Teru and Ritsu said they can't defeat Ishiguro because he is too powerful for them and asked Mob to fight Ishiguro. Ishiguro attacks Mob with his gravity power and brings Mob to his knees. Reigen attacks Ishiguro with his anti-Esper dropkick. Reigen knocks Ishiguro and asks Mob if he is going to fight these guys using his psychic powers and going to break the rule. Ritsu said to save him. Mob has to use his psychic powers. One of the Ishiguro's subordinates asked Reigen if Mob is not going to fight them. Then Reigen have to fight them. Reigen uses his hypnosis punch on the subordinate. After that, they all got angry and started attacking Reigen with their full powers. Mob saves Reigen. They started attacking Mob, Teru, Reigen, and Ritsu. Seeing Ritsu's getting hurt, Mob was going to use his full powers, but Reigen stops Mob and says when things go south, it's okay to run away. Mob sees the flashback when he first meet Reigen and remembers that Reigen said to him to become a good person. And as Reigen and Mob was talking, Sakurai attacked Reigen with his sword. Sakurai hit Reigen with his katana. Reigen fell down to the ground. After a few seconds, Reigen stood up and said, "I knew that this is a plastic katana and it doesn't affect him." Sakurai said he is going to cut off Reigen's head. As Sakurai attacked Reigen's neck, Reigen grabbed the sword and braked it. Then the other Esper attacked Reigen with an evil spirit, but Reigen destroyed the spirit. After that, the other Esper surrounded Reigen with his clones, but Reigen destroyed all the clones. And Esper was surprised. Ishiguro was surprised to see that someone this skilled still existed in this world. Then Ishiguro decided to eliminate Reigen and attacked Reigen with his black orbs, and we got to know that the explosive amount of energy building up within the Mob transferred to Reigen temporarily. Reigen, who gained the power of Mob, destroyed Ishiguro's black orbs like it was soap bubbles. Ishiguro decided to attack Reigen with his full powers. He started attacking Reigen using his full powers, but that doesn't affect Reigen. Reigen attacked Ishiguro to take off his mask. He took off Ishiguro's mask and threw him. Then Sakurai attacked Reigen with his broken katana, but didn't affect Reigen. Then Sakurai used his special weapon, a Jugen air gun, and fired on Reigen. Reigen deflected it. After that, Sakurai used the spray that make Mob unconscious. But it didn't affect Regan. Regan started lecturing Sakurai and the other espers. When Regan was lecturing the espers, Ishiguro came and said that he was born with these powers, and what's with him showing them off, and what's wrong with changing the world. Mob replied that having psychic powers doesn't make you popular at all, which make Ishiguro angry, and decided to erase the building with all of them and start it over again. Ishiguro used his powers, making a big ball that is going to suck them all. Reigen lost the power which he gained and asked to lend. Reigen his powers. Mob said he can't do that. Suddenly, the kid that fought with Ritsu punched Ishiguro. Ishiguro started attacking the kid, but the kid used his powers to deflect Ishiguro's attack, and then defeated Ishiguro. After defeating Ishiguro, the kid pointed Mob and said he is disappointed in him. He said he was there to inspect the place and take anyone who seemed useful back to HQ, and there wasn't anyone worth his time. He said, "See ya," and disappeared. Matsuo said that the poison jar has been completed and he summoned his ultimate evil spirit Marshmallow, but formed the jar. Dimple came out and punched Matsuo. Dimple said he regained some of his energy and ready to fight. Mob said that it's already done. Dimple was surprised and said that the climax happened without him, and they all went back to their normal life.